Last year, Clint and Jackie presented to SMBash for people who, this is their second or third or even fourth time attending. Hopefully you saw their presentation last year. If not, you're going to get a really good glimpse at it this year. I only mentioned that because it was one of the most popular, not just energy-wise, but content as well from last year. So we're really happy to have them back again this year. This is Clint Fiore and Jackie Hirsch, two of the best in the business. They've been doing this for a long time, and other than that, I'll let them introduce themselves, but I think you guys are in for a treat for this one.
Thank you, David. We'll let people keep coming in as we go here, but I have the pleasure of introducing Jackie Hirsch, and I just wanted you all that don't know her to make sure that you get to know her. But she has been doing this business since 1998. She's done over 400 transactions. She's done a lot more deals than me. I really look up to her, but she's out of Orlando, and she's done mostly Florida deals, but she's starting to expand into deals all over the country. Just married, one wonderful daughter, and I don't know, she's invested in a bunch of small businesses. She's invested in my business. She supports this community, speaks at SM Boot Camp, and is just kind of a legend as a broker. So we're happy to have you. Thanks for joining me up here, Jackie.
Well, thank you, Clint. I met Clint a few years ago. We were at an IBBA event, and he gets up on stage, and I didn't know him because I only go to IBBA infrequently. It's International Business Brokers Association, and he starts talking about this Twitter following he built. And there were some guys at the table, and they start laughing, like, who's this guy? And I said, I think you're missing the point, and you should listen. And they didn't know who I was, but they stopped talking. It was fascinating. Clint has been in the business for over 10 years. He has a kind of a fintech company now that's high tech, high touch, and really creating a frictionless deal process from start to finish. And since I'm an old school broker, I wrote a check. I thought it was fascinating. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But he's married with 4 kids, which I think is awesome. We have low yield in my family, but high quality production. But some people have, high quality and high yield. It's just sometimes you just don't know what the output's going to be. But it's been a pleasure to work with him. Last year, I was introduced again through Sam because I sold Sam the company, and he's like, "Yeah, you and Clint should present." So we're on a call, and Clint doesn't really know me. I'm like, "Yeah, I think we should do like a whole pastel ninja theme." And Sam and Clint just kind of didn't say anything, and they're like, okay. And I did this like crazy deck, which actually was pretty good. So this year I'm like, okay, we're in Dallas, and let's do like a whole beef and cattle theme, because when the government says to eat less beef, you should eat more beef. Okay, so anyway, with that, you kind of know my mindset on probably a lot of points right there. But today we wanted to present how to get the deal and how to source deals on a number of levels, and how to, any private equity in here? Any private equity? Former investment bankers?
Government banker.
Great, okay. I love to teach searchers how to win the deal over the banker and the private equity guys. I love that. I never get tired of that. But this will help you, because then you'll know and you won't make those mistakes. So here's what we'll cover, just kind of some of the deal sourcing, networking, broker deals, proprietary outreach, emotional mindset, which is huge, and then the steak marinade, live Q&A. And that's kind of my favorite part. So we're gonna kind of rush through these so we can get to real interaction. So when I showed these slides to my husband, who's a PhD mathematician, and would never produce a deck like this, he did think it was pretty funny. So when buyers call me, they're like, "Hey, Jackie, I'd love to take you to lunch or have coffee with you and pick your brain." I do not like any part of my body picked. I'll just start with that. If you want to ask me questions, I need them to be specific. I get probably 30 requests a week with buyers that want to take me to lunch and be my friend and have coffee with me, and I physically can't do it. There's physically not enough lunches. I could lunch every hour, and I can't make it. So the outreach needs to be specific. and buyers who are, oh, I'm going all over to our nation and every state is possibility and I'll go anywhere. I can't really work with that. It's too hard for me. So it needs to be specific. So when I speak to somebody like Sean, and he's like, I want to go somewhere hot and sunny and lovely and gorgeous. And I know that those states are like the Carolinas and maybe Georgia and Florida and maybe Texas because it's hot and sunny. And so we can kind of start to narrow it down, right? And when people tell me specific things, like I have a great background in certain things, and I know I can do these deals. So be specific.
Right. So I'm going to talk about networking. I've taught, you've seen me these, I've taught on sourcing deals for major organizations. And I always talk about it in terms of 3 pillars. There's on-market deals on all the major marketplaces. There's off-market proprietary outreach where you're going directly to business owners. And a lot that's becoming very popular, is building systems and processes to go after business owners. But there's really a 3rd pillar to that stool, and that's networking. And I think it's the most underrated, probably most effective thing that needs to be in your toolkit and that everyone can do. I actually read a book, it's an old school book, about a month ago called Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. And if y'all have never read that, like that stuff is time tested and proven. And if you follow his advice, this stuff works. But when I'm talking about networking, I'm talking not just about going directly to business owners that you want to say, can I buy your business? I'm talking about all these categories of what I would call COIs, centers of influence. Most of these are people that touch business owners regularly. It's people that know a bunch of business owners and work for a bunch of business owners. And I think one of the things that a mistake people make in networking is you go to like, you send Eric Pacifici or Jackie or me a DM saying like, hey, I'm looking for a business to buy. But like we literally have thousands of people sending us those same messages, and it's hard to stand out with us. But there's like a local insurance agent in your town that's never met a single person that's like actively trying to buy a business, and they think that's really novel and really cool. And they know like 300 business owners because they insure their houses and their jet skis and their boats, and they go golfing with them and stuff like that. And like they have 300 business owner relationships, 0 business buyer relationships. And you can be the one buyer that's like their friend they know and like. And there's a lot of those out there. So when I think of COIs, the centers of influence, I want to find people like that. And so the person that usually knows first when someone's going to sell their business is a CPA. That's probably the most trusted advisor of the business owner. And when someone's thinking about selling, they usually talk to the CPA first. The wealth manager is the second person they talk to. And so I really like them. Wealth managers are also a phenomenal referral source because they're one of the only ones on this list that like their business increases when that person sells their business. Because that 60-year-old owner, that like, there's a lot of these profiles of sellers. I've seen their personal finances at the sell side. Like, there's a whole lot of like business owners that, you know, 50 to 90% of their net worth is in the goodwill value of that business locked up, and you're going to unlock that when you buy their business. And their wealth manager is currently stewarding like maybe a couple $100K in their, you know, and wealth managers pay on assets under management, right? And they go and do a multi-million-dollar transaction, and all of a sudden that wealth manager is managing millions of dollars for that client instead of hundreds of thousands of dollars for that client. And so they're intrinsically motivated to help you. And so I love wealth managers. Insurance agents, again, like, y'all think about the obvious ones. You want to talk to Josh Fro, you know, who's here with his company, but he's like the insurance agent for all of you that are self-funded searchers and getting into this space. But like, you might just want to find the personal alliance people because they can tell you a whole lot about the business owner, and they're not in this ecosystem. Again, you can be their only go-to there. And so if I'm in your shoes trying to source a deal, in addition to doing proprietary outreach, talking to brokers, doing the on-market stuff, I'm going to be spending like the people that will have lunch with you, Jackie and I are going to turn you down when you say, hey, can I go grab coffee? We just can't. But like the insurance agent will. And they're probably a stronger referral source than us sometimes. So just want to encourage you to do that. One other tip that was kind of a wild one I wanted to pass on was like, one time a guy gave me $100 Starbucks gift card out of the blue. And I was like, to me, $100 Starbucks card was like it was like infinity money. It was like, but I just remember it was funny because like, I kept it in my wallet for like at least 6 months, you know, and every time I would drive by a Starbucks, I was like, I could go get anything I want there anytime I want. Because I had a golden ticket because Nick gave me that dang gift card. And I was like, go buy anybody coffee, you know, and so it's like, I used it a bunch of times and I thought about them every time. And then when I just drove by and thought about using it, I thought about them every time. And it just, there's things like that are just like, that could be a good investment. You know, if there's the number one productive CPA or broker or somebody that's like your dream COI, just drop a blessing in their life. You know, buy them a sports ticket to a thing or something that's like valuable to them more than just a lunch or coffee one time, and that's going to be this gets you top of mind. So let's go to the next one. That's networking.
As I said, I like to make education fun because I felt like school was not fun. So anytime I present, it's always going to be like fun and memorable and exciting. And that's something that I try and do. So like how to be prepared. I'm sorry, Mr. Investment Bank, what's your name?
Clay.
Clay, okay, that's right, Clay. Okay, so I always like to teach buyers like how to beat out private equity and investment bankers because they have some good tools. And how do you beat those guys that come in with their like crisp shirt? It's like a potato chip. It's like crisp. You could bite it and like it would like break off and like the fiberglass hair. And they use all the same like nomenclature and abbreviations. And they like sit perfectly. I mean, it's really kind of fascinating. And how do you beat those guys? You have to be prepared. And then you have to do what some of these other people were talking about. Moses Kagan was talking about being personal. I talk about being uber personal, right? So one of the searchers sent me their like 1-page summary, and I was like, I need to be more personal. It's like, I wrote that I am married with a child. Okay. Okay, well, how about like, you went to the University of Houston, but now you live in Austin. Why? Right? Because those are not the same places. I know in Florida, like if somebody is in Orlando and then they move to Miami, they're like, oh, they moved to Miami, wow, okay. It's a different place. Sometimes I think it's a different country. And I speak Spanish and I think it's a different country. So why do you live in Austin? I love live jazz music, and I go with my wife and my kid and we have live jazz music. And we love to try and barbecue places. Boom. Right? I need to be personal. I need something in there where the seller sees it and they're like, oh, this is a real person, not fiberglass hair and chip starched shirt with the vest. Okay, and like don't show up to my deals in Orlando, Florida when it's 90 degrees in a vest because they're gonna think something's wrong with you. Right? And there is something wrong with you because you're gonna be sweating more than anybody. So, I want somebody to be prepared, be consistent, get feedback faster than anybody, and when you're an investment banker and you've just done like kind of backroom stuff, or Sean says he's like in a private equity group and he does a lot of the back end stuff and maybe pushes a lot of paper, but maybe doesn't swing a hammer, maybe go out and do something that does that, or like, hey, I remodeled my bathroom, or hey, I like to do this, like any physical, tactical thing, like if you like electrical contracting companies, but you've never like put wires together, go and do something like that and say you did that. I like to build lamps as like a side project. And that's real. Like, so I sold the roofing company last year, and one thing Nadav didn't tell you is that he laid the pavers in his backyard, all of them. He retiled his bathroom. He's like torn down walls. He's a 2-time Ironman, right? It was these kind of things that were on his summary page that I could say to the seller, like, you need somebody to get up on a roof, like this guy's not a paper pusher. normal M&A attorney. He can get on the roof and do stuff, and the team will respect him. When he saw that there was a pull-up bar at the roofing company, he was like, "This is for me." Right? There's he does pull-ups at the business, and so does everybody else. All the team do pull-ups on the pull-up bar, which is in the office. It's like in the Class A portion of the space. It's not in the warehouse.
You have an example.
Yeah.
So this applies to networking and to broker deals, but I mean, y'all have gotten branded cups before, right? Like you probably have, I have a drawer full of these. I'm trying to give these away and have a hard time giving them all away because a lot of people just have so dang many of them. But I'm going to tell you, you need one of these. And here's why. There's 3 things about this because most of y'all are familiar with Yetis, Stanleys, some of these more popular brands. This is different. This is an Arctic, okay? 3 things that are unique about this. It's not just all right, it's 30 ounces of hydration. That's a lot of freaking hydration. But hey, lots of other cups have that, right? This one is full ceramic lined, which none of the others are. It doesn't impart any metallic taste to your beverage. And that's probably my favorite part about it. And the third thing, it's got the best lid in the business. So Stanley's and others, they leak. This is leak proof. And it's a 3-way lid that works with straws and a sippy lid. So it's like, it's got a unique set of attributes that make this the case that like you should take one of these and throw out one of your inferior tumblers in your drawer, right? And so, did I just sell that on anybody? Did anybody want this? All right, okay, good, because I got a bunch to give away. But I want you to think about that in terms of how this relates to you. Like, what are your 3 uniques? Like, we're not going to remember the whole one-pager. Like, I like to have that in my CRM. I like to have that in that email that I can reference if we get an offer from you. Like, I'll read the whole thing at that point. I'm not going to remember your resume, but make yourself memorable. And there's 3. This is an EOS principle. If y'all know the entrepreneurial operating system, I was an implementer of that. I use that in my companies, but they talk about you should have 3 uniques, and it's 3 things that no one else could say about themselves that are unique to you, that make you memorable and make you stand out. And when you choose those things, also consider the listener. Like, who are those 3 uniques for, and why would it matter to them? And so if you can get 3 things that matter to that listener, that are memorable and are truly unique, like that sets you apart to brokers, and that sets you apart when you're networking.
That's right. I love that tip, and that's a great tip. And this is exactly what I said. What I remembered about you is that you crashed a plane and you lived, and you were married with 4 kids, and I'm number 2 of 4 kids, and you sell businesses. And at the time, I think you had only a 50,000 Twitter following. Now it's over 100, but like at the time, like when we first, what was it?
I don't count, but it's like 68,200.
Now?
No, sorry, 58. I don't know.
Now it's 58. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember it was still like robust, but I remember like I wasn't even on Twitter. It wasn't even on my phone. So I love this. I love that you distilled that message about being memorable. And like when you go on a first date, you don't hand them a whole like 200-page book about me, right? Nobody's gonna read that. You like do a fun like summary sheet of all your good stuff, and you kind of leave like, don't feed this person onions. Like you leave that like over there. And I love inappropriate dating references to buying companies, just so you know. I'll try and keep it like English and somewhat appropriate. Okay, so deal marketplaces. There's a lot of really interesting deal marketplaces. You can set up Google alerts for yourself. In Florida, there's like an MLS system, which most states don't have. You have, you have Axial, of course. You have Kumo, and you have to look every day. And when you look every day and you do the follow-up, my tip is always you look 2 days past, because you might not get it the exact same time every day, and you might miss something. You have to look every day. It's an everyday thing that new stuff comes out, or those old spinsters on the market, right? You have to like, I always talk about, again, I was pretty old when I got married. So, like why not make it funny? But sometimes something's been sitting on the market, doesn't make it a bad deal always. It just might not be the right deal for a lot of people, right? And maybe they don't have the right game, and that's okay. So you wanna, try and like find that out, and then you wanna move quickly. Now, let's say something's been on the market a while. Like, I've seen this hanging on the market. Sometimes the reason why it's on the market has been remedied. Sometimes there's something that went wrong and it needed time to shake out, right? There was a downturn, which is normal because it's not life isn't a linear trend, right? It's not always perfect. Or somebody quit or got fired, or there was an accounting error, or they switched accountants, all sorts of reasons. Often it's mispriced. And I do stand by that a lot of deals on the market on Biz Buy Sell are garbage, right? Sometimes the garbage you can make work, and every deal has hair, just like every person. Even the people without hair on their head have hair on their body. I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure. So,
Let's talk about something else.
yeah, what?
Let's talk about something else.
Okay. So what I wanted to talk about though is now there's business brokerage is an old school game. And the reason why I invested in something that Clint was doing with Dealonomy is because he started to see it in a new way. And I feel like there's a lot of new things changing and there's a new game being played, but Clint is now doing a frictionless business transaction model. It's fintech mixed with humans, and it's really removing a lot of the friction. I'd love for you to just like address that for a second.
Yeah, so this is my first conference I've been to where I can actually spill the beans. So this has been a stealth project for 9 months. Most of y'all know I've had a sell-side M&A firm for about 10 years called Bison Business. And we're just a well-respected, mostly Texas-based regional firm, but I felt like this whole industry needed some disruption. There needed to be a better way to do things. I raised a bunch of money last year, and I've got some of the best. I've got a dream cap table right now. Kevin and Sam, or Paul, who talked last night, and Kevin, the Hendersons are on, Jackie's on, Walker Dybel, like there's Peter from Axial's invested in supporting us. So, I mean, it's like the who's who are supporting it because they see that there needs to be disruption and change. But essentially, in just the three uniques I can share is we have a two-sided marketplace, and I've got two types of customers. So we're serving sellers and buyers. And for sellers, we're the only place that's free to sell your business. So there's no commission to sell your business. That's going to attract massive amounts of sellers because we're extremely differentiated from every other brokerage that's very expensive in their fees. We're also guaranteeing results. No other brokerage does that. So we're going to value the business up front, tell them what we're going to get offers at in a range. And if we don't bring you offers in 90 days or less inside that range, we'll give you $10,000. And so that's an extremely unique third one there. And then the third one is like, you're going to not just have the high tech platform, but you're going to have professional advisors helping you every step of the way. So professional advisory, free to sell, guaranteed results. And for buyers, which is I think more of you in this room will be the buyer side, it's the three uniques there are like, all the deals are good. Like that's the main one. Okay, so it's like, I feel like most people are frustrated on the buy side because it feels like looking for a needle in a haystack to find a good business to buy, and that's extremely time consuming and frustrating. So we're gonna have a good deals only platform, and so what that means is all of them are making money. So we're gonna have $250,000 and up in earnings to be on the site. So nothing that's distressed or losing money. They'll all be bankable. They'll all have complete information. We'll have a seamless process. So it's going to be a high-tech, seamless process that's unique too. So you can quickly sign an NDA, go to a fully populated deal room that's standardized the same way every time with a video interview with the seller, everything you need to make an offer, get accepted, move right into a populated data room. So we want to make that like as high-tech, seamless process for you. Good deals only. And then the third unique is the advisors on the platform aren't just working for the seller. It's a truly intermediary-led process. And so when you talk to the broker, we're the middleman every time. No other brokers can use the platform, but we don't have a fiduciary to either side. We're working for a win-win deal for both sides. And so that means like, for the first time ever, when you're talking to a broker, you know, they're not just in the tank for the seller and just negotiating against you. Like we're trying to work for both sides to make it happen. So that's the three uniques on that. And it's just a totally different business model. And yeah, so like, love to tell you more about it, but this isn't a Dealonomy sales pitch. Like, but we're pre-launch right now. The sell side is registering sellers every day right now. Buy side's a waiting list. It's going live in about a month. So if you go to Dealonomy.com, within a few weeks, like we should roll out probably 25, 30 deals on there that are unique to Dealonomy. So make sure you're on there and signed up. This is something I think will really help you guys because when you're looking at all these other marketplaces, the non-Dealonomys out there, like there's a very mixed bag of business quality, but there's also a mixed bag of broker quality, and you all know that. And that's part of why I built a good following and stuff, is because I'm not afraid to call that out and kind of show the standard between good broker, bad broker. But it's like any industry. I don't want to pick on brokers too much, but y'all know, there's, in Texas, we have 200,000 something realtors. 80% of them are worthless, right? And 20% are maybe good. And brokers is the same thing. But if you're just out there searching and bumping into brokers, you run into that 80% a lot that just aren't very good and don't know what they're doing. They might just be on the learning curve somewhere or didn't get the right kind of training like me and Jackie did. But you run into them. And I want y'all to not give up on deals just because the broker isn't me or Jackie. Okay, like there's good deals out there that get poor brokers. And because it's not, sellers don't know how to vet brokers, just frankly. And it's pretty easy for brokers that have a good resume or present themselves well to get people to sign up with them. So you can get a good deal with bad representation. What I want to encourage you to do is there's a few tips here. One is like this concept of stay under the rim. And Jackie kind of alluded to that, but if you've got there's a few notorious shops that are just kind of like volume broker shops, and I think they're kind of unethical in their business models because they charge a big upfront fee to sellers, but they induce that by overvaluing the business, and then they put it on the market overvalued, but they don't really care because they got paid 50 grand for the overvalued valuation. And then they let the market wear that seller down. And then eventually they try to drop the price later. And those people are really hard to interact with because their sellers have bought hook, line, and sinker that they think their company's worth $5 million and it's worth no more than 2 or 3 when you run it through your model and show it to banks and stuff like that. But don't write it off, because if you can just present yourself respectfully, get in with that seller, get to know those people, and don't try to beat them up, try to blame the bank. I really love this business, I really want to do it, I ran this by my banker, I'll put everything I have in this thing, we can only get to $3 million on this, so unfortunately I'm going to be out, but I wish you the best of luck. There's a way to do that respectfully instead of being you guys are an idiot, this thing ain't worth that. And it's just that attitude of being likable, staying around the rim, and when that person does come back around, they're gonna be like, man, I really like that person. I know they weren't where I wanted to be, but when the market does sufficiently beat them up, you're gonna be top of mind because you're the one that was respectful in the process. And then there's other opportunities what I'm seeing more and more is commercial real estate agents are getting business listings and don't know anything about how to market them. But commercial real estate took a big downturn the last few years. Their deal volume dried up, and a lot of them pivoted to start trying to sell businesses. They don't know how to spell EBITDA. They don't know, they're just putting them out there on the MLS or on LoopNet or these random places. They don't have financials on their offerings a lot of times. They just have a description that the seller told them about it. They have the square footage and pictures and stuff like that, but it's not like a sim that you need. And buyers get really hacked off about that, because it's you're an idiot. How am I supposed to make you an offer? And they're like, well, what? If you can be the one that puts a real estate contract in front of them when everybody else is putting LOIs in front of them, and this is the ninja trick here, it's super uncomfortable for buyers because you want to do an LOI and do it the right way that you learned how to do it, but that commercial real estate agent thinks an LOI is worthless because that's not an offer to them. all they know is contracts. Like to a real estate person, like nothing's real unless it's a contract. So you can take a commercial real estate form, make a few changes to it to give yourself, and even put an escrow, a deposit at a title company or a third party, because they love seeing that. But just give yourself a due diligence window and take a guess based on what you've been provided as to like what you would pay for this company and why. And then get in there, you're the only buyer because you're the only one with a real offer that slid a contract across the table. And that agent tells that seller, all these other people sending LOIs are idiots. They don't know what they're doing. This guy's real. He put a contract in front of you. This thing's got, this is the one you want. And you can still get that deposit back. You can still diligence it, but you could find a diamond in the rough, like by buying a deal from a commercial real estate agent that everyone else passed on because they're an idiot that doesn't know how to sell his business. So I always say this is like, be like Bruce Lee in this. He's like flow like water. So when you encounter an obstacle, you don't just bang your head into it, you flow around it. And on these underrepresented deals that are in that 80% of that don't know how to do it, it's that you just gotta think like that. Likeable, respectful, find solutions, think outside the box, and that's gonna help you win the deal. Your job isn't to educate them on how to do a deal right. Your job is to find a business that you like and close the deal.
Real quick on.
I just want to touch on that. That was fantastic. On the underrepresented deals, sometimes those are on the market a long time, and with a bad broker, that can sometimes be a boon to you because you can like really negotiate gently and kindly, but like you run the deal, and that can go really well for you. That's exciting. You touched on
Yes, I think I hit that, but I mean that's true. So a lot of those types, like the gatekeep really hard, but once you're in, they'll let you take over because they truly don't know how to close the deal. But once they feel like they like you, trust you, you put a solid offer, the seller likes you, they'll ease off. Once you're in that gate, you can take over diligence, you can take over the closing process. All they want to be is communicated with and know they're going to get their pay. They just want to know they're going to get their commission at the end. And so you just keep them in the loop, you drive the bus. When you're with a competent broker, when you're with Jackie, don't try to drive the deal. Just follow the bouncing ball, do what we say. Because we want to drive the deal and we know how to drive the deal and get it to closing. But some of these others that are out in deep water over their depth and they haven't sold a bunch of businesses, they need you post offer to kind of take control of the process, and you can do that.
Yeah. We're going to touch on proprietary deals real quick. I'm not against proprietary deals. I think that there's a time and a place. When you're looking in big markets, it's really hard to do proprietary deals because it's very competitive. When you're looking in a smaller market, like certain like less populated states or smaller areas where there's only a few brokers, I think you can sometimes win in proprietary and do the centers of influence that Clint talked about and really get out there, network, cold call, mail outs, all of that. So that works, but proprietary really works when you have a deal and you're like, I own a bookkeeping company called System 6 and we've acquired a ton of deals and we'd love to do another deal. You can speak with any of our sellers about how we do deals, but we'd love to bring you on board and take care of your clients and take care of your employees. That's so powerful, and that's when proprietary really works.
Yeah, and we just have some other kind of grab bags of tips on this slide, and then we're going to move into Q&A here in a few minutes. But other things I wanted to point out is I've noticed, especially in the last 10 years when I was doing Texas deals, like Texas has 4 big cities, and everybody's looking there. All the brokers are there, and the deal volume's there. But Texas has 10 cities that are over 100,000 people in population that aren't the big 4. They typically have no business brokers in them. They have a lot of nice small businesses in them. In fact, all the rich people in all those cities, those second tier, tertiary markets, are business owners. They're the ones that are in the country club of Midland and Wichita Falls and Corpus Christi, and there's all these different markets. And if you're willing to look in those population bases that are like the 50 to 500,000 cities, so much less competition and lots of good opportunities. So look in those rural markets, and the multiples are typically lower and they're slower to sell. So it's like everything's coming up roses for you on the search. You're looking in those markets. The other thing, just in general, is I think Jackie described this really well when you're saying your deal box is have a type of deal. So if you're looking for HVAC, like you can say that, but also say that you're open to other trades businesses or you're open to other unique business models. Because something that Jackie and I learned, and everybody that's been around this space for any amount of time it learns, and you all saw Chris Horner talk, and his 75 businesses or whatever, 74 of them were stuff you never even thought of, right? Like it's just random. And there's so many businesses that like, I did not know that was a thing. I learn a new one pretty much every week. And so just being open-minded, and so there's an art to this of, you can't just go to the broker or to the market and say, I'll do anything, because then if you want to do everything, you're nothing. You're just a blob of forgettableness. So you want to have like a specialty. So I like to say, hey, I'm looking for direct to consumer businesses. I have a background in this, and that's why I like direct to consumer, but I'm also open to anything that I could apply that same skill set at. And that's going to trigger that broker, to think of like, oh, you know what, this isn't exactly that, but I check this out. Something totally different off the wall. And some of those are the best deals.
This is really interesting. We talk a lot about mindset in certain ways, but I think sometimes buyers forget about the seller's mindset also. Like your mindset needs to be specific and self-aware. And I mentioned that Sean, who's in the front row, is like self-aware about some of the things we talked about, what he's looking for. And Jared in the back, he's moving to Orlando and his girlfriend is getting a medical residency. And he's like, so I'm gonna be in Orlando and I need to be in Orlando. So we talked about that, but he has a great depth of business background, for many years, and he can identify what's going to make sense, and he was able to talk about his buy box. Or George, who has an epic background, and he was like, yeah, I ran 7 different P&Ls of different things, and he can just do so many things. So I think when you can distill and be self-aware about what you can do, that's super helpful. But remember, with the seller, sometimes they're looking for themselves in you, right? So that's why I want those personal things. Like one of my searchers is a minority, and he's like, well, I don't really look like the seller. I'm like, well, amen, sister. I don't look like the seller either. But they both hunt and fish, both go to church. They both had 3 kids. They connected on a very deep level. So know who you are, and that'll help them know who you are, so you can project that and move forward. And I think that is super important. And remember, not all sellers are the same. If they're selling their company, it's like sending your kid off to college. Some people are like, bye. And some people cry for like a year, like their kid left for college. And some people move to the same city as their kid, right? So maybe the seller stays in the business. It doesn't have to always be the same thing. And it can be a number of different things in a number of different situations. And so just be open to the adventure, because it is a big adventure. And that's one thing I like about Jared, is he's been driving around an RV for a long time. So he's clearly up for an adventure, because that's not, open road isn't for everybody.